to the land of Dawn,
Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, we're jumping into the land of Dawn, where Indonesia is trying to equalize, and Cambodia are trying to secure the grand final position, with Dreams already very aggressively moving into the enemy jungle, taking a whole lot of damage here as Danger rotates as well. It's first blood before the first minute of the game. Cambodia are on fire.
Bit of a disaster trying to get information on a Kadita. Very, very squishy. Yes, you have the blessing of the ocean, but you need to survive for that to actually work out. And by the way, speaking of security, 3 purifies on the side of Cambodia. They are not having any crowd control issues whatsoever. They want to be able to do whatever they want, and they have enough mobility to make that happen without those sprints. So the purifies will mean that Indonesia needs to be very wise in how they want to use these skills.
Oh, T still able to get out. Going to be taken down by Hijume. That's a trade back on the board. Both the roamers already falling here early in the game. But I do feel like, again, in terms of that mid-control, this Eve with the Kadita will definitely have a bit of an edge, clearing out the waves a bit faster to rotate and to provide more help across the side lanes.
If they roam S3 along with Taz on the Akai, they actually have more advantage, but look at this dive.
Oh, Lutu, too aggressive. Gonna be taken down, punished, and that's the real world manipulation as well. A very aggressive play from Cambodia, but this time it might be too aggressive as Taz jumps in with a heavy spin, instantly knowing where Boom is. The Furious dive as well from Psychox to pick up the kill and to take the lead in game 2.
They have the pressure, and now they can go for the turtle, because for Cambodia, this Faramis can save some of the members from the big burst damage, but hang on, as we say that though, that is Deja picking up a kill onto Psychox. Definitely not what Indonesia wants, but there we go, turtle secured for Indonesia in minute number 2.
It's still just a very slow game now that the action has happened early on, Arashi. Both teams will be waiting for the neutral objectives. They don't really want to go for anything too crazy, but just as I say it, Lutu will be caught for the second time in this game. And this time it's by Dreams, who's taking it a bit personally, that first kill. And you can see as well, Brands is having a good time on that Melissa against the Irith though. But the Ocean popped in, OP going to be sandwiched by Indonesia. The new world inflation as well, forcing OP to use that ultimate to get out of the range. It's still OP who can survive, who can still get out, but look at the waves. Very disadvantageous for Cambodia. It's pushing in towards Indonesia, and Brands is just letting it push.
Wave clear advantage for Indonesia and fight skirmish advantage for Cambodia, unless, as we talked about, Dreams can actually start having the pick-off gameplay. He was able to delete Lutu, who is a fighter in the early game, so that definitely is not what Cambodia wants. They are grouping at the bottom side though. There might be a big fight building up here, as they're just waiting there, trying to counter-engage on the possible dive towards OP. This is what you come to expect. They want to make sure that OP does not get shut down. He is the main win condition.
But here, so far, Brands has been able to find a whole lot of success in the lane, getting a whole lot of gold. And with the help of Hijume right here, with that real-world manipulation constantly, it's just so difficult. And you can see as well the rotations from the XP laner, opting to actually leave that XP lane. Dream spotted out by T, and Psychox even cancelled that recall. Got cancelled by T. Hylos having a better time in that XP lane again, just soaking in as much gold as possible, while Taz is actually going to be the one gifted the job to handle or to match up against that Hylos.
Brands now has secured the bulk of that, well, almost the whole thing, the whole turret gold. And with that momentum, Indonesia rotates their top side at the opportune moment, going for the turtle, but there might be a fight here because they are backing away.
Oh, that's a very good engage again by Dreams. Lutu taken off, and that's Taz who secures the turtle. Deja all alone pops the cold altar to survive, but a pin down from Taz is there. Deja with the Purify still able to get out, but the real world inflation will be able to lock him down for the kill to be handed over to Hijume.
The pick-off game from Dreams, man, this is what we've come to expect. It's dangerous and it needs to be respected, but Brands will be taken out. OP is actually getting a bit more momentum back here, and Indonesia might want to just try and funnel a bit more attention because it's going well so far. Why stop here?
Yeah, 3,000 gold lead already. Taz also was able to steal away the purple buff. Now, Lutu is 2 levels behind of Taz on a hero that you would really optimally want to go snowball early on, right?
Ice Queen's one will mean that for Cambodia, escape is going to be a very difficult situation as Oppie again is the target.
So much damage to the pin as well. The Purify comes in to save Oppie for a bit with a hard guard, but he is going to be taken down by Brands with the dolls. Deja with the Cold Ulcer getting out. Brands is securing that tier 1 down below and moving back. Indonesia now invading the enemy jungle, and Lutu has no say whatsoever to what's happening in his jungle. Taz is now 3 levels ahead. Psychots is zoning Lutu away, has a Black Dragon form to get out. Taz jumps in, gets the damage down his Dreams, looks for the follow-up now. Tier 1 gonna be taken down in mid lane. Boom, still having the glorious pathway, can get out. And Indonesia decides to play the disciplined game this time, backing off, not overextending as they did in game 1.
If Indonesia maintains this discipline and plays with that vision, they have so many tools to start off that pick-off gameplay. And for now, at least until later on in the game, the members from Cambodia are going to be way too squishy to push into a Yi, a Kadita, as well as a Yuzong. This early game is very strong from Indonesia, and they're completely abusing it to go for the purple buff, it seems, right now, because Boom is taken very low with the real manipulation, almost taken out, flickers away, and I think Indonesia will be able to secure this purple buff. That's a sad day for Lutu on the Cambodian side.
The gold lead is just building again, slowly but surely, towards Indonesia as they are suffocating Lutu, especially in this jungle. But the entire Cambodian team is just not having a good time here in the first 7 minutes. You know, Indonesia came back from a similar kind of position here. You can already see again that ambush over Lutu, trying to find some compensation. Dreams with the conceal, still able to jump away. Dreams finally taken down with the Phantom Steed by Lutu, and Psychots might be next. Brought back to the team, has the Furious Dive, now gonna be caught still. Serves, staining for a bit, but Lutu finds that double kill, putting them on the board. And finally Lutu has found 2 kills here. Finally found some compensation, a way to turn the tides back around.
Gold difference just swinging back here. It was up to 6.5k, I believe. Now down to 5k, more or less. But this is what we talked about for Indonesia. They have the chance to make the plays happen, but the longer it goes, the more it goes towards the mid-game. They need to understand that Cambodia will start grouping up with each other, and they need to make plays as 5 at the top side, so Brands make a play.
Wow, Brands instantly just jumps in. 2v1, doesn't even need the help of Taz. A good read by Brands, and a very good, just honestly, instinct by him, knowing exactly the limits of Melissa and how much he can take. Pops that go away perfectly as Lutu jumps in to knock him back, and Deja's gonna be caught as well here. Pops the Cold Ulcer for safety, but we'll just lose that HP bar instantly. With the rough waves popped in and the purple buff targeted, Indonesia have taken the lead back into their hands. That grasp is as strong as ever.
Brands was able to make that play happen and swing momentum back. He is, by the way, 3 levels. Well, not two now, but he was earlier 3 levels ahead of OP, and that shows again the game plan of the Indonesians. Destroy that gold lane, let Brands carry, and shot down OP in one fell swoop. It's working very well so far, but we've seen that Cambodia has been able to come back from the situation. They need to stay disciplined and make sure that they don't leave any window available for Cambodia to get some foot back into the game. And now with that lord taken away, they go straight back into the jungle looking for more victims to pick off.
Here, Indonesia again opening up the side of the map here. Boom gonna be caught, but Furious Dive has the glorious pathway to escape. That real world manipulation almost took him down, but Indonesia will just pull back. Again, they got the lord, they don't need to go for anything too aggressive. Given the orange buff over to Brands and securing just that lead, backing off, playing it disciplined.
We talked about having different tools of engaging, by the way. Furious Dive Petrify, Breath of the Ocean Petrify, and the Heavy Spin. So many things for the members of Cambodia to watch out for, especially if you're OP. You know that the Indonesians has their eyes on you, and at every moment, someone might come up from the sides. It could be the Kadita, it could be the Akai, the Yuzong, or even the real manipulation to just screw over your chances of having that impact in those team fights, and Indonesia is absolutely abusing it.
Taz finding a good pin down onto Boom with the help of the real world manipulation, but the Cold Ulcer is placed down there, only for him to get silenced as that's Ulpi again in the back of the line. It's taken so low, but a pass it from Psychots. Brands picks up a mega kill, and it's a 2-4-0. Indonesia in that skirmish finding everything they need to look for the end right now. Deja looking for it. Ulpi gonna be taken very low, taken down by Taz as he jumps forward with Retribution as well. T bursted down, and the base is wide open in 10 minutes. Indonesia equalize.
Wow. All the fighters, all the skirmish capabilities from Cambodia doesn't even matter because Indonesia will outmaneuver them and in the mid-game just outpick them in that skirmish gameplay. Even the tankiest of members, even the Leomord gets completely destroyed, and Cambodia, they just lost control of that game and they lost control of that gold lane as well. That is the main idea, the main strategy that the Indonesians were able to apply and shut down Cambodia's chances of success.
Brands on the Melissa, man. And we say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It broke in the first game, and they didn't fix it.
We're going to see a bit of the highlights. In the early game, as you can see, there's a lot of burst damage for the side of Cambodia. But after the initial few moments, it seems like Indonesians found their grip. And especially this early game dive from Cambodia, a bit too aggressive, but that's how they need to be playing it. If they just get complacent and they think that everything's going to go the same way, Indonesia in that mid-game, they have a bit of a steeper power spike, and you can see that even with the Cult Altar, even with the tanks available, even with the Angela, the pick-up gameplay was just way too difficult to deal with, and especially OP on that gold lane without a lot of cut control to use to protect him. He just gets taken out again and again. And of course later on we're gonna see that 1v2 where Bronze just out of nowhere goes for the play solo and somehow, some way makes it work. But you see, the crowd control difference, I think, is just the key to victory here, because in game number 1, it seems like with Divine Judgment, with all the suppressions available from the Cambodian side, they were able to shut down Taz and Brands and take out Indonesia. But now in game number 2, the shoe is on the other foot with 2 petrifies, 2 knockups, and even the heavy spin. Cambodia are just caught bewildered. They have no idea which one is going to come first, and before you know it, they have lost all control and Indonesia pushed towards the base.
Here as well, man, that final fight where Cambodia tried their best to actually play front to back, but where is the front? Decimated by Indonesia. That's how much of a goal lead they got, 10,000 in the end. And you can see, the frontliners were just not able to soak in any damage. They got melted down by not just Brands, but Ijume as well, who's opted to go for the utility build.
Keep in mind, usually after struggling in that fight, Opie is there to save the day. Like the hero that comes in when things are dire. But now, being 3 levels below, how is he supposed to save his team? It just isn't available, and they did not play accordingly. So they need to adjust and find something different, man. But the match MVP is going to be Taz from Indonesia, 1-0 and 6. It seems like he wasn't doing a lot of killing, a lot of pickoffs per se in the early game, but the objective gameplay is absolutely solid, and later on, the threat of that heavy spin is just so good.
Oof. Right. This guy started it off in the early game, right? The first few kills were from Taz. The turtle takes, again, I don't think this man has lost a retribution battle.
I think so. Even earlier, on the Joy.
He was a mid laner.
He was a mid laner. Not anymore.
So, explain to me how.
He's so good at retributions?
Yeah, I mean, he was a jungler back in MBL, but he's had so much time and experience playing as a mid laner. You think with the role swap again, the layoff, it would actually impact his performance, but right now it's so solid. Psychots as well, though. Yeah, gotta give him props, man. On the Yuzong, a lot of people say no Yuzong, no win, but hey, that's a feat. If you can auto-win your games on the Yuzong, why not?
Why not? I mean, there's no reason not to. And for Hijime, by the way, he did not go for the Enchanted Talisman because he needs maximum damage. He is not there just to spam out skills and be annoying. He is there to output that damage because they are trying to shut down, to pick off Cambodia. He opts for the Ice Queen's wand directly and then straight for the glowing wand. It's a combination of slow and also every single instance of damage buffed up by the glowing wand, and with so many fighters. Essentially, even the Faramis and then the Hylos as well as the Leomord, when you have a glowing wand, it just does so much more damage against these beefier, higher max HP heroes, and Hijime with this very smart optimization goes all the way. And for Dreams, no lightning truncheon, but with the Genius one, it just has so much synergy with Hijime. And this mix of damage coming in, right, is so balanced. One tank, two physical damage dealers, two magical damage dealers. There is no easy solution, and especially if you're on the back foot, especially when there's a 10k gold difference, you have no idea how you want to itemize and deal with this pressure.
It's a bit too much pressure to handle. I was just looking at the replay here because right after the game, Psychots actually did this. Oh! So, this is something I just want to check again. Yeah, he actually did it. I saw it at a glimpse right here, but I wasn't sure. Yeah, he was doing this, and his chair fell down. So it's unfortunate. Psychots, a bit too heated maybe again, but that's just the nature of competition. When you win a game, especially after losing game one, you get hyped up. Again, Cambodia was also very hyped up, 100% after game number one. We'll see again as it is 1-1. The second full game series in ISF after, what, 8 matches, 9 matches? We had 9 or 8 matches so far, and we've only had one game or one series go the distance. This is the second time, and it's both Cambodia, Malaysia, and now Cambodia, Indonesia.
And I mean, they are desperate. They're struggling for it. They really want this victory. But now they also have a bit of an advantage. In game number one, Cambodia got the better of Indonesia, surprising them with how they were able to counter that joy. Indonesia were able to completely adjust and have a dominant win in game number two. Now, can Cambodia also make these adjustments and have a dominant win in game number three? That leaves, we have to wait for that result. But I think with how Cambodia has shown their adaptability, how they're able to absorb that knowledge and experience, Indonesia needs to change something as well. They can't expect to have the same kind of picks, the same kind of success, because Cambodia will make adjustments. Maybe banning out the Yuzong, right? Maybe picking something that can protect OP better in that gold lane.
Well, to start, if we're talking about the draft, who's going to be on the red side, who's going to be on the blue side, right?
Yes.
Because so far in the series, there's a pattern. The red side has 100% win rate. When you're on that second pick, getting those 2 heroes in the start, it's kind of an advantage so far, right? If you do ban out the heroes that obviously are pretty broken. But even when Cambodia let that joy go, they were able to find a few counters here. Arashi wants to get into close-up shot. There you go, Arashi.
Sorry, did I break your train of thought?
No, I just want to highlight that.
I was wondering how it would look on camera. It's pretty funny. But of course, we have to go back and focus on this match. It's very intense, very serious. And I think the coaches here, we talk a lot about Coach Bjorn, right? Coach Zace from the side of Indonesia. And he's very smart and cerebral with his approaches. And I think in a way, the Cambodians have a bit of a opposite approach. It's always very instinctive, right? Everything doesn't really seem to make sense on paper, but when you see it just come together in the game and you're like, okay, this is what they're trying to do.
Oh, okay. Getting pretty cool in this game. But ISF 14th World Esports Championships is obviously, ladies and gentlemen, supported by wonderful Indonesia, Kemenpora, NOC, and also Connie. We would also love to thank all of our sponsors: JHL Group, JHL Auto, Nusapay. We also have DAS with Gudang Crypto, Pertamina, also Taiwan Excellence, Hydro Coco, which is amazing by the way, Merusaka Nusa Dua, the official venue of the event. We also have IndyHome, Telkomsel, HIN, Episode Hotel, Meneski Global, Indonesia Football E-League, and ESID with Lemon ID.
And the media partners, which has cooperated so well with our event right here. We cannot have done it without you. We have to thank them as well. Nest TV, Trans7, Detekcom, Esport ID, Video.com, Junior Games, Dance TV, Dance Play, Merah Putih, Bola Score, and Kami Bijak. Thank you very much for helping us out with this event. It's very, very much appreciated. Well, that will be our benefactors for this event.
Absolutely. But Arashi, it does seem like the players are going to be taking a break. Us on the counter desk as well. Arashi will be back in a bit with Indonesia versus Cambodia, game number 3, to decide who gets to go to the grand finals first.
Berarti masih tas ini cocok di jungle daripada dia di mid laner ya. Nah, apa ya? Hero mana-mana sih dia role sih waktu di Evos ya. soalnya tetap mantan tetap lokan kalau nggak salah waktu itu. Nah ada ini kan tandingan antara Baywan atas dengan Dewi Boy atas antara Antar itu sih kurang negara sih masuk ke Piala Dunia gitu. Tapi kan ini antar negara bawa nama negara. Masya Allah satu orang itu.
So today we have Lotus from Chile, and they will be competing in the World Esports Championship 2022. So Lotus, how was your trip from Chile to Bali, and what is your impression of the place?
Was a very long trip. We came from Chile. We have 3 connection flights: Chile, Houston, Tokyo, Indonesia, and then Jakarta, Bali. So it was a very long trip, 2 days in a row. But it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun too. Totally worth it. Bali is a very beautiful place, so we are so happy to be here. We are delightful right away.
So first, how was your trip from your country to Bali? What is your impression about the place?
So about my trip, it was a little bit tiring, of course, from Saudi Arabia to Bali. Very long journey. But in the end, it worked out. Everything was fine. And my impression was very great. The place here is wonderful, amazing, beautiful place. Yeah.
So about the competition, this championship.
Well, we are stuck from Mexico, of course. Everyone has their own team, but we kind of practice with scrims a little bit 2 weeks ago.
Okay. So for this tournament, which team or participant do you think will be your biggest rival?
So I think our biggest rival will be from our same region, Philippines. Like we're in the same group. Like I think they're pretty strong, and I'm hoping we can have a good match.
So you've traveled so far from Maldives to Bali, Indonesia. What is your target in this competition?
Actually, we look forward to be the top 1 out of
As we know, this is the biggest esport tournament in the world. Do you have any pressure on your shoulder, and how do you deal with them?
Actually, obviously it's a lot of pressures, but then I think we'll be good in handling.
Okay. So you already been through several stages of ISF qualification. What is the key of success for you in order to qualify for this tournament?
Well, the key is practice a lot, have fun again. I mean, focus on the game, study the game. The game is your life in a competition.
We also know that there have been a significant growth of the esport industry for the past few years, and there are many esport fans that want to represent their country, just like you.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice or tips for them so they can achieve that dream?
So I think we should all remember, like, it's a team game, so we should solely not only focus on ourselves, but we should maybe focus on the team and how to grow as a team together, and sticking together to the thick and thin. I think that would be the greatest tip I can give.
Okay, so that's all for my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and I hope you the best.
Thank you.
For this tournament. I hope the best for Mexico team.
Thank you so much.
We hope that too. Thanks to you, Pong.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wih, mantap nih. Ini masuk jumlah penilaian
We're back, ladies and gentlemen, for game number 3 for the grand finals. This one is almost for all the marbles, not just yet, right? Grand finals will be for all the marbles. This time, it's just to get that top 2 position, which I think all teams will be happy to do, right? Back again with Mirko Arashi here on the English caster desk in the live venue in Bali, Indonesia. Mirusaka Nusa Dua. Arashi, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Well, this match is not for all the marbles just yet, but it sure sets the tone for the end of the tournament. Games are getting more competitive, more flexible, and a lot more strategic, and that is a very exciting thing. Because right now, if you think this game is intense, it's going to get even more intense. It's a hard prospect to imagine.
How do you know? How do you know it's going to get even more
Because I came from the future, Mirko.
Arashi came from the future. Arashi, let's jump into the present. As we see Zace and the Indonesian team draft for their side. Indonesia on the blue side, Cambodia on the red side. Remember, the pattern so far in the series is red side 100% win rate.
And I think Cambodia, being from the future here, they're going to have a lot of bans towards, planning to get that joy in their hands for sure. They have banned that Fanny away. And for Indonesia, I think for Cambodia actually, they might actually have a lot more priority for that Kadita as well. That was definitely a big tool for Indonesia to gain steam in that early game. Indonesia will ban away that Digi for now. That is something that we've seen again and again. So far, nothing too crazy.
Just the Digi, again, is a standard draft so far, but Indonesia, they're basically taking their game 1 draft and they're swapping it a bit, right? They're already going for the Digi ban and the Wan ban. The Digi was banned out by Indonesia in game 1. What's different is that Wan, they're finally respecting it here, not giving it over to Cambodia for free. Cambodia goes for Fanny. Still, very similar to game 1. And Akai, still the same, right? In game 1, they banned Fanny, Valentina, Akai. So if they go for the Valentina as the last ban, we will have the exact same bans for Cambodia as game numero 1.
Despite being from the future here, I am really very unsure. Will Indonesia pick up that joy? Right? It did not work out in game number 1, but will they be willing to let it go? Thinking that, okay, we've seen how Cambodia does it, we can do that too. It's not that difficult. Or is it?
I think it's about the setup already for Indonesia, right? The reason the Joy did not work out in game number 1 was, again, because Cambodia were able to find 2 counters to it, the Kaja and the Wan. Indonesia have banned out the Wan this time around and the Kaja, so they're basically saying, Cambodia, now we're forcing you to ban the Joy. If you don't ban the Joy, we can pick the Joy, and you can no longer choose to go for those counters, the Kaja and the Wan. That's exactly what Cambodia do. They read out the situation, but now it does give over to Valentina, or the choice for Indonesia to go for that first pick. Leomord still up for grabs with, again,
Artist as well.
the Martis, still the heroes, the Valentina.
Or the Yves even, or the Beatrix. There's a lot of options available here. And that was a solid prediction, Mirko. Are you from the future as well?
Maybe.
Perhaps. Ladies and gentlemen, you never know. But what you do know is that Indonesia will have a lot of tell. They're going to be showing a bit of their strategy with this first pick. Is it going to be aggressive? Is it going to be flexed, actually? If they can make it a bit more elusive, I think Cambodia will be a bit, a bit stressed out, figuring out what to do here. It will be the Yves, so that is something that they really, really want. I think they have picked it up for all 3 games.
They have, right? Man, Yves on the hands of Hijue has been solid, always, right? We saw it almost, again, like you said, every game. Last game, we saw it as well. Hijue just really likes this hero, but Cambodia already instantly picking up that Yuzong, taking it away from Psychot, and picking up the Valentina so that they can actually match that real-world manipulation with their own real-world manipulation with that IMU. Indonesia now back to the drawing board for the drafts. Melissa is a solid choice now up against the Yuzong, right? If you're up against the Yuzong, you can always just use that go away to stop that Furious Dive. Well, what other hero comes into mind here up against this comp?
I'm not quite sure, honestly. I mean, if you talk about having impact, the Kadita is still available, and it's a hero that is somewhat signature to Dreams. I mean, he's only been able to use it a few select times because they've been banning or picking it away from him, as far as we've seen. So I'm not sure if he wants to pick it up that early in the game though, but Leo Mort and a Masha perhaps. It is locked in as well. That is a lot of slow compared with two very scary fighters just bolting at you. Indonesia, they're trying to go aggressive here, but of course Cambodia has a chance to counter it. This is why it's so difficult. Both teams, they know how to play around each other, but I think Cambodia needs to be very, very concerned about the dive potential onto OP. That is one of the main strategies that allowed Indonesia to get that solid second game. So maybe card control, maybe security, safety, peel, whatever you want to call it. They need something to help OP out.
Last pick for Cambodia in the first phase. They need a hero that can be very independent here in these team fights as well, knowing that there's so much dive. Self-peel hero, but they will just go for the Martis first. This will give the, again, chance for both of these countries to start narrowing down that gold lane. But the Melissa banned out, knowing that, again, they already have a Yuzong and now a Martis, two heroes that wants to get close. The Melissa is a solid option for the ban. Now Indonesia, honestly looking at it, they might want to get Irithel out of the fray.
Irithel, or maybe a Claude even? It depends. I mean, if they want to just dive in like that, you look at the composition so far, it's two fighters that are diving towards you and one mage that potentially, right, with the IMU from Deja, can use that long-range artillery. So it's a very similar composition. Now, the final two bans might show. Is it going to be the same comp head-to-head, or is it going to be slight differences adjusting, allowing the early game to be different? Indonesia has banned away the Claude, so it's not Cambodia banning it away. So I guess, again, with two fighters, with the dive composition looking, I think Claude was a solid option for both these teams.
Yeah, and the Claude also has a blink compared to just dash, right? So getting out of the real world manipulation is a bit easier with that Claude. Leslie becomes the ban here, becomes the ban that Cambodia look for. Again, respecting brands, knowing that Leslie was just such a problem for the Philippines last time up against Indonesia, when they did get that hero onto their hands. Melissa, Leslie, Claude, and the Wan. There's a lot of gold lane bans, and Indonesia can look to go for another gold lane ban, or you can actually stop there and go for... Right now, Roamer, right? They can actually just ban out a Roamer. The Atlas is still up for grabs. Again, they already got rid of the Diggy. With this melee style of composition that they have, the Atlas is pretty dangerous to let go.
Well, Indonesia has the first pick, and they have the Diggy banned out as well. Hang on. Cambodia actually has the first pick, right? So they can get the Atlas here,
or the Ruby.
And for Indonesia, I wonder if they're gonna look for a gold laner instead, right? Gold laners are being banned left and right, so I think who gets a solid gold laner, they can melt through the majority of these heroes, has a bit of an edge. The Beatrix, as I was about to say, is open. It is in a dangerous spot though, but Cambodia thinks it might just work.
Irithel here becomes the choice for Indonesia. They can also still play something like a Brody, a Clint, or a Bruno that so far we have not seen today, but we have seen before in this tournament. And also, we are still waiting on a hero for the roamer position. I think the reason Cambodia went for the Beatrix first was because they know that if they pick the... Well, they know if they let the Atlas open for Indonesia, and Indonesia eventually goes for that pick, Cambodia has the option to just steal that Fatal Links away. Has the Valentina with the IMU to look for these crazy engages with the same ultimate. Giving Indonesia more ultimates to play with will mean that they're giving themselves more ultimates to play with as well. Indonesia, just as I said, that Bruno is going to be hovered over, but the Irithel becomes the wiser choice, the better choice here for Indo. And the Mathilda, like you mentioned, but the Lolita instantly here hovered over, shadow picked by Cambodia. I think it's a very solid choice here, but it's only to counter the Irithel. The dive, not so much. Well, technically, it can be a counter to dive if he finds a good position to get that Nuna Blast.
If they can get control using the Black Dragon form and Martis with the card control immunity, they can then use that control, that vision game, to set up for a huge, massive Numeron Blast. I think that's the idea Cambodia wants to go for. But against an equally aggressive composition from Indonesia, we'll have to see if that actually works out. I think the gold lane, yet again, will be one of the main highlights of this match. Beatrix up against that Irithel, and with a Mathilda against a Lolita as well. In that 2v2, Mirko, who do you think comes out on top?
Mid lane?
No, the gold lane.
The gold lane duo.
Let's say the duo, duo showdown actually comes through.
Well, for the Irithel in this matchup up against the Beatrix, honestly, it comes down to, again, I do feel like it's a bit equal here in the gold lane, even in the duo gold lane here. But the Mathilda does have a bit more of an edge early on with the blooms, so that she can actually help his gold laner win the trades. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to see if that actually happens here in game number 3. 1-1, the decider is here. Indonesia versus Cambodia for the grand finals of ISF.
When Psychot's on the Masha though, this is quite interesting. We have to see how oppressive exactly can he get with it. But the jungle clear, as we can see, this Leomord is very deadly. And early on in the previous game, we saw that Cambodia was able to secure a kill just using the early base damage. And now Dreams is just trying to be an absolute nuisance, trying to make sure that Lutu takes a longer time clearing or even stealing it away.
Yeah, but Lutu will still be able to clear it out as the Demon Slayer as well. You can see that the Leomord Taz is already invading the enemy jungle quite early on, trying to steal away some of the creeps here as Lutu has actually opted to go for the Lethal Wanderer. No mid-control for Indonesia. This might be risky, but Taz gets out in time, getting a level lead on Lutu right now, and proceeds to go over to his own jungle to full clear.
In the early game, it's never big moments for the most part, right? I think it comes down to the smaller exchanges, the small goal differences, and now they're just going aggressively, but ooh, very scary because Dreams was in the wings. And again, it's just a very balanced contest of wave clear and ganking potential, and neither team has had a lead just yet.
Both teams are still playing it a bit passively, right? Both roamers are rotating across the map as well. Not much action on the map in the first minute. Very different from the last game where we saw action instantly, almost right as the game started for both Cambodia and Indonesia. But knowing the stakes right now for game 3, knowing that one of them are going to lower brackets later on to face either Philippines or Malaysia, they're gonna have to play a little bit safer here. Turtle gonna be started up. T looking for that opening right now as Lutu is there. That's going to be the Shadow Steed, Phantom Steed. He brings him back. Lutu losing out of the Retribution battle will still be able to survive. That's a Petrify onto Dreams with a Furious Dive as well to pick up first blood. The Turtle for the kill traded in. And this is where I have to ask you, Arashi, who takes that? Who got the better trade?
I think for now, especially since in the mid lane there's a bit more aggression, Cambodia definitely has a bit of an edge. They get the shielding from the Turtle and they go aggressively yet again. Indonesia now needs to be very, very careful. They have tools to protect their carries, but if they let Cambodia gain too much momentum, that is a very dangerous mid-game that they're looking at right now. Especially, as we mentioned, if the Lolita can set up, if T can make those plays happen, that is definitely something that Indonesia wants to avoid in order for them to be able to shut down OP in this bottom side. Brands was taken out, so now it really leans in favor of the Cambodians.
Well, Deja's going to be caught as well, though, in the real world manipulation. Instantly taken down as well with the damage coming in from Taz on that Phantom Steed. It's 1-2 on the scoreboard. Again, that neutral objective did go to the hands of Indonesia as they're looking to use this Phantom Steed towards that top side. Taz has to be careful. We'll be able to steal it for a bit, but just decides to back off. Again, both teams, knowing the stakes, will choose to play it a bit more passively here in the third game.
Indonesia has not been having a lot of time to shut down OP. They're moving right now, but you can see that the pressure game is much, much different. Cambodia is actually matching Indonesia in the wave clear department, and that means that Indonesia cannot outmaneuver, at least not as much, the members of the Cambodian side, at least for now. With some items coming in, maybe the difference in skills will actually make that a possibility.
So far, 4 minutes in, again, not much action on the map. It comes down to, these slow games come down to those little wins, Arashi, like you mentioned, to set up for that mid stage, because every little win is going to be building up constantly for both of these teams. And I think both of the teams have been doing a pretty stellar job. Cambodia with more wave control, though, in that gold lane. We'll have a bit more to say around this Turtle. That's a brilliant Numenon Blast, but the Phantom Steed is there to respawn. That's a Black Dragon form as well. Taz trying to steal it, but finally losing out in the Retribution battle, giving it over towards Cambodia. And Taz as well will lose his life. So Cambodia took a 2-for-0.
2 for 0, and they didn't even bring Psycuts into the equation. He is on the top side. Boom was the only one maneuvering down, and boom, he has made an impact. The Black Dragon form is just so annoying, so oppressive in those objective takes, and Indonesia, they lose out there, but can the advantage Psycuts is getting in the EXP lane later on make a difference? Is this the investment they are making in the early game to maybe play a split push gameplay instead?
4-man gank around that gold lane. Dreams. That's a circling eagle stolen away from Deja. Doing a good job at zoning the Indonesian members here away from that tier 1. For OP to take a good siege and a good rotation from Cambodia to pick that up. You can see, like you mentioned, Indonesia are looking to trade up in that XP lane, but up against the Yuzong, it's really difficult to do. It's a very sustainable hero that has a Petrify. Now that he is 2 kills ahead as well with that Black Dragon form, it really feels like he's unkillable unless Indonesia throws more than, unless they bring 4 people up to the XP lane.
Even with 3, as you mentioned, Mirko, it's going to be a bit of a stretch. But of course, Indonesia, if they do go for that, they'll have some preparations in place. But now they're going for the mid lane play instead.
T still soaking in all the damage there. Does a good job to help Deja to disengage. And Indonesia so far, every little rotation that they've been trying to do, every single catch they've been trying to look for, hasn't really worked out in favor for them. It's been Cambodia with the more efficient roams, more efficient rotations across the map.
It seems like Indonesia wants to be as aggressive, but without the Kadita they had in game number 2, without 2 Petrifies, because Psycuts is not on that Yuzong. They just are struggling to find the right pickoffs, and they need to rely on these neutral objective fights. But even there, it seems like Cambodia is one step ahead. They will take a free turtle yet again. Perhaps Indonesia is waiting for more items, more of a power spike. They are a team with experience, and they have shown to actually be prioritizing that EXP lane yet again. Psycuts able to take out that turret, but will that be enough? Will that be worth it?
We'll see here as Cambodia are trying their best to siege down that mid lane. Good rotations from Taz, moving over from his orange buff right to that mid lane to help out the other members on the team. But right now, like you mentioned, that's the wise choice by Indonesia, looking to trade instead of contesting for the neutral objectives, which is definitely going to be favoring Cambodia here in the mid stage of the game. For Indonesia, again, they need to wait for Brands and Hijumet to get those item power spikes, and unfortunately for Indonesia, it does take a bit longer for them to get those power spikes. And you can see, with Windtalker built up by the Iritha, working on that Berserker's Fury next. Meanwhile, for the Beatrix, just that BOD is technically enough. He can go for something like a Haas Claws now, or even a Wind of Nature, and he does. Still able to kite back. OP taken very low. Brand's looking for the play, but it's going to be OP who hits him back. Lutu caught in the real world inflation as Dreams falls to the hands of Deja. Cambodia here, still. It's a 1-for-1 trade, and it's both of the roamers, so it's still a stalemate for both of these teams in the trades even.
As we talk about the power spikes, and before that, let's talk about that fight initially, because Taz goes for the engage, and you can see that the members of Cambodia spent a lot of time in that real-world manipulation, but they are not clumping up together. So Indonesia failed to get the quote-unquote combo and get massive value from that team fight. Oh, now we have a bit of a technical pause though, so we have a bit of a moment to talk about what's going to happen, because for Indonesia, we've seen that they have great grasp of their power spikes, and Hijume, he is rushing for that glowing wand. Knowing Chara Talisman, he wants to be able to dish out the damage, to be a real deterrent, to ensure that the tankier members, the Yuzong from the side of Cambodia, will not be able to get shrug off the damage, because it will be percentage HP.
Agreed. You know, if you take a look at Cambodia again, how they're able to play in these skirmishes, even though Indonesia were the ones to start it, right? The front line for Cambodia is just so visible, and so far it's been so impactful for them. As you can see, again, I'll re-mention again the compositions for Indonesia, where they are actually looking to dive, right? The Masha, the Leomord, with the Irithon, the Mathilda. It can kite back, but it's centered mostly on just diving and breaking that front line, that front to back that Cambodia have really built for themselves here with their composition. Now the thing is, with the Yuzong and obviously with the Lolita, it's just so hard to penetrate towards that back line. When Brands did that. When Brands was able to jump in with Dreams, he had to sacrifice Dreams for what? Just the Lolita, right? Soaks in so much damage, and in the end, even though OP was low, the help of Deja on that Valentina, it was enough of a threat to push Brands back away.
Later on, though, I do feel like Airthel and Beatrix in the ultra late game, I think Airthel has a bit of an advantage, and with the range difference, right? Of course, Deja can match it with the IMU, but for the most part, Hijime will also be able to actually do a lot more poke damage and pressure Cambodia into unfavorable exchanges. The Masha as well later on will be much tankier, much more so compared to Boom, and maybe excel in the 1v1 as well. So I think the later the game goes, the more options Indonesia have to actually play around with, provided that they don't let Cambodia just pull away from them as far as gold difference is concerned.
The gold difference is sitting at a 1,000. It's a 1,000 gold lead for Cambodia currently. It's not that big of a difference, but
exactly.
I think it's the XP, right? That's right now dictating the match. OP is one level ahead of Brands, therefore dealing a bit more damage than him. And again, it comes down to those power spikes, which OP is able to reach a bit faster than Brands.
Level 11.
Level 11 also has that BOD. I think he was building towards something else there, either the Nature or the Haas Claws. But now it's, again, just both of the teams dancing around the neutral objectives. Meanwhile, though, Psychons really with a very aggressive movement to cut the wave under the base turret over there. This will definitely give the upper edge towards Indonesia when it comes down to that wave control and pressure. And you can see Cambodia with the movement already. Lutsu forced to go towards that bottom lane, and he is the jungler. This gives Indonesia so much base, and they are going to commit onto it. Knowing that Lutsu is down below. Boom does it with Black Dragon Fortress. Blast not connecting anyone, but it's the Petrify by Boom connecting onto 3. No more follow-up. Brand's gonna be caught there, and that's gonna be a lot of damage placed onto with the Circling Eagle as well. Deja stopping him in his tracks as Psychos jumps in with the help of Dreams to find OP. Both of the gold laners, both of the marksmen taken down. Hijime looking for that kite back with his items and with the utility he has. Good slowdown. And again, it's just a 1-for-1, an incredibly close game for both Cambodia and Indonesia.
They trade gold leaders right now, but without that gold lane, we talked about Cambodia's reliance on having OP as the hero of the game right now. That means Indonesia has a lot more of an advantage. They're going for the Lord again, and they're going for a fight where their AoE can actually swing tides in their favor.
Brands is going to reach this Lord pit a bit faster. Real world vibration locking Boom down for the Phantom Steed to deal as much damage as possible. Brands finally rejoining the team. That's another Phantom Steed over by Lutsu, by Deja, who's able to jump in. Lutsu coming in, enabling the rest of the team to deal out that damage. A 1-for-2 now. It's still favoring Indonesia. Lutsu and Boom taken down for Taz. The Lord is not going to be committed on right now. Indonesia decided to just go for that mid lane. T trying his best to defend this, but it won't work out for him in the long run. The Circling Eagle might actually be able to take him down here with the help of the other members, but T will be able to get out. The Indonesian members opted to just go for the turret. And all that was just for a turret. This game is getting, like you mentioned, intense from the future, man.
It's going to be very much intense, even more so later on, especially for Cambodia. They're starting to lose their grasp on the game, especially with Indonesia's control over the neutral objectives. With that Masha split pushing as well, we've talked about this. Cambodia have a bit more of a combo situation. Indonesia have a lot more options to play around with. They can use the Leomord and the Masha defensively, and they have security. They have the Matilda's Guiding Wind to try and save their main carries as well. Cambodia does not have the same kind of luxury.
No, they don't, right? I think now they need to start prioritizing OP again, because in the last few fights they have been able to find Brands, but without the help of OP, it does feel like they will lack more. Well, they will lack that sustainable damage. Boom with Black Dragon 4, Circling Eagle by Dreams, a bit too aggressive there, but a little fast now. It's going to be chained in, channeled in. Deja jumping on a Hijime, who's still able to kite away, but not for long. He gets taken down by Boom. Brands with Nature dealing a lot of damage and sustaining back up again. And that's so much on that back line. Taz is hunting, sniffing out, and he gets it onto OP. A brilliant read by Taz to find that double and to get Indonesia a 3-for-2 trade.
It's a very close game, man. Indonesia are winning this skirmish but only by about 1 kill each fight. But they keep repeating the same thing again and again. They have no urgency to take this Lord. They keep using it to bait the members of Cambodia into fights that they don't really want, that they can't really take. And it has been working so far, and eventually now he can get a free Lord, completely uncontested. And this is the beginning of the comeback for Indonesia if they are able to maintain that discipline. Discipline is the name of the game. And on that note, we will take a bit of a break because there is a technical pause.
I think it comes down to the team fight execution, Arashi, there. You can see that for Indonesia, like we mentioned earlier on, the problem that they had to face was that front line not breaking. The Martis, the Valentina even acting as a frontliner with the help of, obviously, the Yu Zhong. But in that fight there, they were able to split these members across different positions, and with their composition, it works. You know, this is what their composition was made for, to dive and to isolate the members, taking them down one by one simultaneously.
And that is where Irithel excels as well, because you can be a lot more mobile and you're not really as vulnerable as all the other gold laners. In that fight though, Hijumi was dangerously close to getting picked off. He was using his real world manipulation right on the tip of the Luminant Blast range. He flickered out of danger there, but that could have easily gone south for the Indonesians. And this just shows again how close the games need to be. All these players, they're not making mistakes. They are forced into those tough choices because the game is that close. Despite the best efforts and the tools available for both teams, any kind of win per se is only by such a slight margin. We have still no idea where this game is going to go.
It's crazy to see how both teams are playing right now, out of their minds. And after every skirmish, it's usually just either equal trades or one advantage in the trades for one of the teams, right? We saw a 2-for-1 for Indonesia. We also saw a 2-for-1 for Cambodia. Then obviously a lot of 2-for-2s, 1-for-1s here and there, back and forth with the trades for the turtle to the turrets. In the end, we are looking at Indonesia now with a pretty significant trade. They were able to get a 3-for-2. On top of that, the Lord as well. So it makes it a 4-for-2 as they are going to be able to finally push their lead, right? Because both teams so far, I think, have been just going back and forth with that gold lead. 1,000 over to Cambodia, 1,000 over Indonesia. Not really a sustainable gold lead for such a long time in this game. I think of 13 minutes of gameplay, and it's been back and forth completely up until this moment. And now it comes down to how Cambodia fights from behind.
Keep in mind though, now Psychots has been such a nuisance, cutting the waves, being that uncatchable, that very elusive EXP laner in not the same way, in a way that Broom cannot replicate, right? So Indonesia is having so much more macro pressure, and Cambodia, remember, when both teams trade in their gold laners, OP is the main hero for the side of Cambodia. That is not the same case for Indonesia. Anyone has shown, well, not anyone, but a lot of the other members has shown that they can completely step it up. And we've mentioned it again and again. There have been plenty of games for Indonesia where they let brands take that weak side and take the bulk of the pressure, and somehow, some way, he still stays relevant. So if this continues, I do think that it benefits the Indonesian team a lot more.
I think it comes down to, again, Arashi, that wave control, right? The side lane control in the later stage of the game. Cambodia have been... The division of labor within Cambodia is a bit questionable in my opinion, right? Lutu has been the one sent down to the gold lane to actually clear that minion wave where, again, he's the jungler. He needs to be there. That was the reason Indonesia were able to commit onto Lord and to force Cambodia in a position where they weren't ready to look for a fight. But here it is once again. Nibiru's passion there by OP, but it's going to be cancelled out. That's still the mid lane tier 2 taken down.
They have a lot more siege potential here with that Yeep, and now look at that flank though from T.
Oh, he's going to be spotted out here. It was initially such a good flank, but he's going to be spotted out, and that's the flicker out. The threat of that Luminant Blast flicker is no longer present for Cambodia.
That is completely unfortunate. And as you mentioned, Mirko, setting Lutu is difficult, but they require Boom to have that kind of backline pressure in those team fights. Indonesia is making Cambodia have the hardest of decisions, and now with that superior siege, with that poke damage, with the counter engage available, they're slowly but surely working up their way, taking control over the jungle, and now Cambodia is in trouble. Can they even send anyone out to try and scout in these bushes? Because T has no flash, no flicker available.
Yeah, let's take a look at the items here. That's the Berserker's Fury, the DHS already completed as well. It's done for for Brands here on the Irithel.
One more item to go.
He's working on either a... I don't know. Does he want to get a Scarlet Phantom here? I feel like, you know, as late as this, I'm thinking...
I feel like Cast Claws would be better because how Irithel works out, but maybe he has something else in mind. Hijime, of course, I have my eyes on the Yves with a Divine Glaive, though.
You're biased towards Yves, Rashi.
I mean, it is what it is. He has penetration now, and that is a lot of AoE, especially if Indonesia is using these lords to actually bait Cambodia into a fight.
Oh, Psychots losing a whole lot of HP. OP with a brilliant with the nature there. Baits out that Thunderclap. Now it's the engage once again by Dream. Circling Eagle over to OP, but it's a very good knockup over from Boom. A kill over to Brands as well. Indonesia caught in the midst. Now having to back off. Hijime getting the shield down with the real world inflation, but Lutu comes in to follow it up. It's a blunder from Indonesia. 3 members falling, and this might be it for Cambodia. That was the moment they were looking for to turn the tides and to get the goal lead back in their hands.
20 seconds for Brands to be back onto the map. The wave is benefiting Cambodia, but their base isn't exactly safe as well. Right now, they go for the Lord, where they could have potentially went for an end push and catch and force these 2 remaining members into crazy fights. They go for the Lord, though, the more calculated approach, but they might lose a turret because of it. Definitely a big benefit for Cambodia, but maybe it could have been a bit more efficient.
I think they made the right choice. I think if they went for more turrets, it wouldn't be worth it in the end. The turrets can go later on. Obviously, it's going to be there forever, but the Lord can be contested if the Indonesian members respawn. Cambodia decided to make the right choice over there. Again, playing it disciplined and not getting the pressure into their heads, right, into their minds right now. A very good fight. And we actually asked this question right before the pause. How is Cambodia going to play from behind? That's how they play from behind. They still try their best to go for these coin flip fights, and they still know, even while they're behind, they understand where those little mistakes will happen from Indonesia. And like I mentioned, it is a Scarlet Phantom for Brands. We said either Immortality or Haas Claws could be another good option for him, but he decides to go for more attack speed.
Well, that is why, as well, that is why Cambodia keeps Boom in those team fights. That is the impact he can bring. And now with the Lord here, it will be cleared out by the Indonesians, and it's back to the status quo. It's back to Indonesia, pressuring with that macro game, abusing this Masha as much as possible, but Cambodia has equalized on the gold lead. This game is very, very intense. And I must say, I still think the late game favors Indonesia, but Cambodia is making it seem not so one-sided.
It comes down to OP, right, in the later stage of the game, and Deja, honestly.
Yes.
Honestly, it feels like it's every single member, because Boom was the key member to getting that fight over to the side of Cambodia. Now OP and the rest of the members now looking for that bottom tier 2. Psychots looking for the flanks right now, but he's all alone. Caught in the midst of it all right now.
Siapa juga sih? Siapa sih ini? Lagi. Rasa sih orang lagi.
Advantage rage popped in. Psycho still going.
Aduh. Cek air ini. Aduh kan.
Psycho still going onto OP, who's still able to kite away. Real world inflation onto Deja, but it flickers out. Boom as well here, getting out to safety with the Furious Dive. Both teams disengaging, and it's an amazing team fight. Micro play shining for both Cambodia and Indonesia.
Keep in mind though, look at the battle spells. Everything has been exhausted by the Cambodian side, so there's a small window here where Indonesia can make a winning play. This is 19 minutes in the game for the most part, especially the main carries. Everyone is on a full inventory slot. Hijime has a Winter Truncheon, so watch for that being used to maybe bait out some abilities, but for OP, he has the Wind of Nature, so Psychots as well as Taz will have a more difficult time bursting him down. Brands included in that equation as well. It will be in the hands of Hijime to see if he can actually burst OP through that Wind of Nature.
19 minutes in now. Next Lord is going to be the Evolved Lord, and you can see Cambodia already maneuvering around that place, knowing that they have more pressure on the map currently, even with the disadvantage in turrets. with the top side continuously just pushing in towards Cambodia, they've been able to actually micromanage it to a point where it's always at a good position, right? Again, they're leaving it in that top side, having 1 minion pushing in as well.
Butuh has the cursed helmet right now, but Taz has built a Blade of Despair. Franz has switched over to a Pass Claws, as you mentioned, so he won't be easily or as easily bursted down in these fights. That is how the Irrital usually operates, but Cambodians are pressuring for the Lord. They might just commit to it.
Psychons is looking for that split push here. This is the moment right now as Boom jumps in with the Black Dragon form. Gonna be taken very low as Dreams does the same thing. Psychons in the base already right now, looking for that split push, looking for the back door. Boom gonna be taken down. That's the immortality popped in. Psychons still looking for the place. T is gonna be losing his immortality as well. Boom, taking very low. Cos looking for Phantom Steed, gets the kill. T as well, falling 2-4-0. Psychons manages to distract the other members as well, and Cambodia with the Lord won't be able to do much. It's a 2-0 for Indonesia, and with all the waves in that top lane, the bottom lane, and even in the mid lane pushing into Cambodia, it feels like Cambodia are the ones now at a disadvantageous position.
You have to ask the question again, is it worth going for the Lord, trading it for the lives of your members? The longer the game goes, the longer these death timers will be for both these teams, and that must be something you need to calculate. If you take the Lord and lose 2, you might just be at a disadvantage. Indonesia is making Cambodia pay for that Lord take. They're going for the play.
The damage onto Opie with real world inflation, forcing the flicker out. Lutu trying to cancel it out, but will lose his life in the process right now as everybody goes for the base, and it might just be it! Indonesia manages to come back, reverse sweeping Cambodia, and going to the grand finals of IESF.
Indonesia got it done! My God! Cambodia made it so difficult. It was in such a difficult stalemate for so long. But in the end, the Indonesians have prevailed. And unfortunately for the Cambodians, they are the ones forced to swallow defeat. It is back to the drawing board because they still have an opportunity.
What a game though from Cambodia.
The battle spells, because at any moment, a single flicker can change the whole course of the game. A single petrify